The dying light. Captain Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's viewport, watching the dying star pulse with violent crimson light. The stellar readings were catastrophic. This ancient sun had perhaps weeks before it would collapse into a supernova, taking everything in the system with it. "Captain," came the voice of her communications officer, Lieutenant Torres. "We're receiving something unusual. It's not quite a distress signal. But what, Lieutenant?" "It's music, Ma'am. Complex harmonics unlike anything in our databases." Sarah turned from the viewport, her dark eyes sharp with curiosity. The deep space exploration vessel Harmony's Edge had been charting this remote sector for 3 months, but they'd never encountered anything like this. "Put it through the speakers." The bridge filled with an ethereal sound, not quite singing, not quite instrumental music, but something that seemed to vibrate through the bones and resonate in the chest. It was hauntingly beautiful, but beneath the melody lay an unmistakable note of desperation. "Source?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew. "The third planet, Captain. Sensors show massive energy signatures and what appears to be cities. But the readings are unlike any architecture we've cataloged." Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from his console with excitement dancing in his weathered features. A former symphony conductor turned scientist, he had an ear for the unusual. "Captain, this isn't just communication. It's a language. The mathematical ratios in these harmonics follow patterns similar to our own musical theory, but exponentially more complex." "Can we respond?" "I believe so. Give me a few minutes." While Dr. Webb worked, Sarah studied the tactical display. The third planet was close enough to its dying sun that the surface temperatures would be lethal to most known life forms, yet the energy readings suggested a thriving civilization. How was that possible? "Got it," Webb announced. He'd synthesized a simple harmonic sequence, basic mathematical progressions that any musical civilization might recognize. "Broadcasting now." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The alien harmonics shifted into what could only be described as joy, then urgency, then something that sounded like weeping. "Dr. Chen, Captain," Webb corrected himself, his conductor's training making him overly formal when excited. "They're trying to tell us something important. I think they're dying." The next few hours revealed a tragedy of cosmic proportions. Using increasingly sophisticated harmonic translations, the crew of the Harmony's Edge made contact with the Zephyrians, a crystalline-based species whose entire existence was built around sonic frequencies and mineral resonance. The Zephyrians had evolved on a world where vast crystal formations created natural harmonic chambers. Their bodies were living crystal matrices that required specific sound frequencies to maintain cellular cohesion. They communicated through complex musical languages and had built a civilization that was essentially one massive planet-spanning symphony. Now their sun was dying, and they were trapped. Elder Resonance Cathara, speaking through harmonics that Dr. Webb painstakingly translated, explained their desperate situation. "Our evacuation vessels, they are tuned to our world's deep harmonics. Away from our planet's crystal core, they cannot sustain our life song. We have lost 17 colony ships to the void silence. 50,000 of us remain from billions." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of ship systems. Sarah felt the weight of 50,000 lives pressing against her consciousness. "What about other species?" she asked. "Surely someone has the technology to help." The translation that came back was filled with gratitude, but also resigned sorrow. "Many have tried, kind strangers." The hegemony sent atmospheric processors. The collective offered mechanical life support. The Federation provided stasis chambers. All failed because they do not understand. We are not merely alive, we are alive in harmony. Without our song, we become mere minerals. Lieutenant Torres cleared her throat. "Captain, we should report this to command. Maybe they can send a larger fleet, Or the Xenobiology Institute might have solutions we don't. How long do we have? Sarah asked. Dr. Webb consulted the stellar analysis. The star will go supernova in 18 days, maybe 20. Even at maximum warp, the nearest human fleet is 6 weeks away. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew what those numbers meant. "Captain," came the voice of Chief Engineer Vasquez over the comm. "I've been listening to the translations. I might have an idea, but you're not going to like it." "I'm listening, Chief." "What if we don't try to move them to our environment? What if we adapt our ships to theirs?" Dr. Webb's eyes widened. The harmonic requirements alone would mean completely restructuring our life support systems. We'd need to synthesize mineral matrices, install sonic resonators throughout the ship, recalibrate our artificial gravity to support crystal-based physiology. And we'd have to do it perfectly, Vasquez continued. One wrong frequency and we kill them instead of saving them. Sarah studied the star charts, then looked at each of her officers. These were good people. Scientists, explorers, dreamers who had joined the Deep Space Service because they believed in humanity's capacity to make a difference in the vast cosmos. "Chief Vasquez, Dr. Webb, I want a full feasibility analysis. Lieutenant Torres, compile everything we know about Zephyrian biology and technology. Lieutenant Commander Singh, start calculating how many Zephyrians we could potentially carry if we retrofit the ship." "Captain," Torres said carefully, "Command's standing orders for first contact situations like this are clear. We observe, we record, we report. We don't. We don't what, Lieutenant? We don't save 50,000 lives because the paperwork hasn't been filed." The young officer flushed. "Ma'am, I'm not saying we shouldn't help. I'm saying Command won't approve a plan this risky. Retrofitting a deep space vessel with untested alien technology. The liability alone." "Then we don't ask for permission," Sarah said quietly. The bridge went silent. What she was suggesting bordered on mutiny. Dr. Webb broke the silence. "Captain, I've been studying their harmonic patterns. There's something remarkable here. Their musical mathematics are similar enough to human musical theory that I think we could actually make this work. We both use octaves, harmonic ratios, resonant frequencies. It's as if." "As if what, Doctor?" "As if music might be a universal language. And humans have always been exceptionally adaptable musicians." Engineer Vasquez's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I've run the preliminary numbers. We could retrofit Cargo Bay 3 as a harmonic chamber. It would take everything we've got. I'm talking about cannibalizing half our non-essential systems, but we could probably carry about 300 Zephyrians safely. 300 out of 50,000. The math was brutal. "That's a start," Sarah said, "but we'll need more ships." Over the next 6 hours, Captain Chen sent coded messages to every human vessel within reasonable distance. Not official Starfleet communications, personal appeals to fellow captains she'd served with, explorers who'd chosen the black between stars because they believed in humanity's potential to be something greater. The responses came back faster than she'd dared hope. Captain Rodriguez of the merchant vessel Distant Thunder. "Sarah, you magnificent fool. Count us in." Captain Kim of the research ship Breakthrough. "My science team is already working on harmonic resonator designs. We'll be there in 4 days." Captain Okafor of the transport New Horizons. "I've got the largest cargo capacity in the sector. Whatever you need." By the end of the first day, 8 human ships had committed to the rescue operation. None of them had official authorization. All of them understood they were risking their careers, their ships, and quite possibly their lives. Dr. Webb worked alongside Zephyrian scientists, their harmonic communications creating an odd but beautiful counterpoint to human voices throughout the ship. The Zephyrians shared their technical knowledge freely, desperate gratitude overcoming centuries of isolation. "They're remarkable," Webb told Sarah during a brief rest period. "Their understanding of harmonic physics is centuries ahead of ours. They've offered to share their crystal resonance technology. Do you realize what this could mean for human science?" Right now, I'm more concerned with whether we can keep them alive long enough to worry about technological advancement. But as Sarah watched her crew work alongside their new alien allies, she began to see something that made her proud to be human. Her people weren't just following orders or seeking profit. They were pouring everything they had into saving a species they'd known for less than 2 days, simply because it was the right thing to do. The Zephyrians noticed too. Elder Kethera's translated words carried wonder alongside gratitude. Your people, they risk much for strangers. This is not common in the galaxy. Most species calculate profit and loss. You calculate hope. We calculate what we can live with, Sarah replied through Dr. Webb's translation system. And we couldn't live with knowing we let 50,000 people die because it was inconvenient to save them. As the first retrofitted cargo bay came online, filled with crystalline growth chambers and resonant harmonic fields, Sarah allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. The dying star pulsed outside her viewport, but for the first time since they'd arrived, she believed they might actually pull this off. The first group of Zephyrian refugees boarded the Harmony's edge to the sound of their species' most sacred song, a harmony of welcome that Dr. Webb said translated roughly as the music of new beginnings. 50,000 lives hung in the balance, and 18 days remained until the star died. But humanity had answered the call. Harmony restored. The Harmony's edge had become something unprecedented in human space exploration, a living symphony. Crystalline resonators hummed throughout the corridors. Mineral synthesizers worked around the clock, creating the precise atmospheric conditions Zephyrians needed, and the ship's computer had been reprogrammed to communicate in harmonic frequencies alongside standard human languages. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in what had once been Cargo Bay 3, now transformed into a crystalline garden, where 300 Zephyrians lived in harmonic chambers that looked like massive singing geodes. Their bodies, translucent crystal matrices in roughly humanoid shapes, pulsed with soft light as they communicated through musical tones that made the entire bay resonate like the interior of a cosmic bell. The resonance is stable, he reported to Captain Chen through his comm badge. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. I think we've actually created a more harmonious environment than they had on their dying planet. Good to hear, Doctor. How's the cultural exchange going? Webb smiled as he watched a group of human engineers learning Zephyrian harmonic mathematics, while their crystalline teachers absorbed human musical theory with obvious delight. I think we're witnessing the birth of an entirely new form of music, Captain. The Zephyrians are fascinated by human concepts like improvisation and emotional expression in melody. They're calling our musical traditions chaos songs, but they mean it as a compliment. Outside the ship, 7 other vessels worked frantically to complete their own modifications. The merchant ship Distant Thunder had transformed its cargo holds into resonance chambers. The research vessel Breakthrough had become a floating laboratory where human and Zephyrian scientists collaborated on harmonic life support systems. Captain Okafor's transport New Horizons was being converted into what the Zephyrians called a Great Harmony vessel, capable of carrying over 2,000 refugees. But even with 8 ships, they could only evacuate about 6,000 of the 50,000 remaining Zephyrians. The math remained brutal. That changed on the 6th day, when Captain Chen received a coded transmission that made her heart race. This is Admiral Rivera of the 3rd Fleet. Captain Chen, what you're doing out there has reached Earth. Officially, I have to tell you that you're operating without authorization and facing court-martial when you return. Sarah's shoulders sagged. She'd known this moment would come. Unofficially, the Admiral continued, I've got 47 ships en route to your position, including 3 hospital ships, 12 transports, and every deep space exploration vessel I could scrape together. ETA, 4 days. Don't make me regret this, Sarah. The bridge erupted in cheers. Lieutenant Torres was wiping tears from her eyes, and even the normally stoic Dr. Webb was grinning like a child. But their celebration was interrupted by an urgent harmonic signal from the planet's surface, a discordant alarm that made the Zephyrian refugees aboard the ship pulse with distressed light. "What is it?" Sarah asked. Elder Kethera's translated response carried terror. "The star. It sings the death song early. The collapse has begun." Dr. Webb's face went pale as he checked the stellar readings. "Captain, the star's gone unstable ahead of our projections. We have maybe 8 days, not 18. 8 days. Even with the incoming fleet, evacuating 50,000 Zephyrians in 8 days would be nearly impossible, and that assumed everything went perfectly." It was Dr. Webb who proposed the solution that would later be called the Harmony Protocol. "What if we don't try to evacuate them all at once?" he suggested during an emergency conference with all the human captains. "What if we create a chain of Harmony vessels, ships that can temporarily sustain Zephyrian life while transferring them to permanent colony ships?" Captain Rodriguez looked skeptical. "You're talking about a relay system. The margin for error is smaller than the margin for letting them all die." Sarah interrupted. Dr. Webb explained how it would work. Webb pulled up a holographic display showing the Zephyrian homeworld and the positions of all available ships. "We establish 3 relay points between the planet and the colony ships. Each relay point has vessels equipped with harmonic chambers. They can keep Zephyrians alive for maybe 6 hours while transferring them to the next stage. Think of it as musical chairs, but with entire populations." Chief Engineer Vasquez whistled low. "The synchronization alone. We'd need every ship to hit exact harmonic frequencies simultaneously. One ship out of tune, and the whole system collapses." "Then we don't get out of tune," Sarah said simply. The next 4 days were a masterclass in human adaptability and determination. When the Third Fleet arrived, they found a rescue operation unlike anything in galactic history. Ships that had been designed for exploration, commerce, and research had been transformed into floating concert halls, each one precisely tuned to sustain crystalline life. Admiral Rivera, a gruff woman who'd spent 40 years in space, stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge listening to the ship-wide symphony created by human voices, Zephyrian harmonics, and the gentle resonance of adapted technology. "This is either the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, or you've all gone completely insane," she said. "Why not both?" Sarah replied with a tired smile. The great evacuation began on the 7th day. 55 ships formed 3 relay chains stretching from the dying planet to a safe system 12 light-years away. Each ship had been equipped with harmonic resonators, mineral synthesizers, and most importantly, crews trained in the basics of Zephyrian biology and culture. The Zephyrians called it the Migration Symphony, a coordinated effort that required every participating ship to maintain precise harmonic frequencies while transferring thousands of refugees through a complex chain of vessels. Human crews worked alongside Zephyrian guides, learning to sing their ships into the proper resonance patterns. Lieutenant Torres, who had initially worried about protocol and regulations, found herself conducting a section of the ship's harmonic array. Her training in music therapy from before her Starfleet service suddenly invaluable. "I never thought I'd be using my music degree to save alien lives," she told Dr. Webb during a brief rest period. "Music is mathematics. Mathematics is physics. Physics is life," Webb replied, echoing something the Zephyrians had taught him. Maybe it was always about saving lives. The first relay went perfectly. 3,000 Zephyrians transferred from the planet's surface to the first relay ships, their life songs never wavering as human crews maintained perfect harmonic conditions. The second relay was more challenging. The refugees had to be transferred between ships while maintaining the delicate frequency patterns that kept their crystalline bodies stable. But it was the third relay that nearly ended in disaster. The star, now only hours from supernova, had begun emitting massive gravitational waves that interfered with the ship's harmonic systems. Several vessels began losing resonance, their Zephyrian passengers growing dim as their life songs faltered. We're losing harmonic cohesion across the entire third relay, Chief Vasquez reported, his voice tight with strain. The gravitational interference is throwing off our resonators. Sarah watched the tactical display as ship after ship reported system failures. They were so close. 47,000 Zephyrians had already been successfully evacuated, but 3,000 remained trapped in the relay ships as their life support systems failed. That's when the Zephyrians themselves provided the solution. Elder Cathera, speaking through harmonics that seemed to cut through the stellar interference, made an offer that left the human crews speechless. We will sing the great harmony, all of us together. Our combined song will stabilize your ships, but we must trust you to carry us through the final passage. Dr. Webb translated in real time, his voice filled with awe. They're offering to synchronize their entire species' life songs to reinforce our harmonic systems. Captain, this is unprecedented. They're essentially offering to put their lives completely in our hands. Can it work? Theoretically, yes. But if we lose the resonance for even a few seconds, then we don't lose it, Sarah said. She opened communications to all ships in the fleet. All vessels, prepare for synchronized harmony protocol. We're going to sing 50,000 people to safety. What happened next would be remembered as one of the most beautiful moments in human space exploration. 55 ships, their crews representing dozens of human cultures and backgrounds, joined their voices with 50,000 Zephyrians in a song that could be heard across subspace, a harmony so pure and powerful that it stabilized the failing harmonic systems and allowed the final evacuation to proceed. The last transport ship cleared the system just as the star began its final collapse. Behind them, a sun that had burned for billions of years collapsed into a singularity, but ahead of them, an entire species continued to sing. 6 months later, the newly established colony of New Zephyria was a wonder to behold. Human engineers had worked with Zephyrian crystal singers to create cities that were essentially massive musical instruments, their crystalline spires creating harmonics that could be heard from orbit. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the colony's central harmonic chamber, watching human children play alongside young Zephyrians, their laughter mixing with crystalline chimes in a melody that spoke of friendship across the species barrier. The Galactic Council wants to establish formal diplomatic relations, Admiral Rivera informed her. Apparently, the Zephyrians have been sharing their harmonic technology. Do you have any idea what crystal resonance manufacturing could mean for human industry? Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on Dr. Webb, who was conducting a mixed choir of humans and Zephyrians in what he called a interspecies symphony. The music was unlike anything she'd ever heard, complex beyond human capability alone, yet warm and emotional in ways that pure mathematical harmony could never achieve. It's not about the technology, Admiral, Sarah said. It's about what we learned. We thought first contact would be about communication, learning their language, understanding their culture. But it turned out to be about harmony, about finding the frequency where two species can exist together and create something beautiful. Elder Cathera approached them, her crystalline form pulsing with the warm, golden light that Zephyrians use to express deep gratitude. Her harmonic words, now translated by permanent resonance chambers throughout the colony, carried the wisdom of an ancient species. Your people have given us more than survival, Captain Sarah Chen. You have given us the gift of chaos songs, the beautiful imperfection of improvisation, the joy of music that surprises even its creators. In return, we offer you the deep harmonies, the mathematical perfection that underlies all creation. Together, we will make music that neither species could create alone. As if to prove her point, a new song began in the chamber. A melody that started with human voices was picked up by Zephyrian harmonics, transformed by the resonance of the crystal architecture, and became something entirely new. Something that spoke of loss and rescue, of different species finding common ground in the universal language of music. Sarah closed her eyes and listened to the sound of two civilizations learning to sing together. In the end, that's what humanity had always done best, not conquering the stars, but finding ways to harmonize with them. The last song of Zephyria had become the first song of something entirely new. And in the vast cosmos, that music would play on for generations yet to come.